Back in early June of 2015, Bonnie Ross had this to say to Game Informer in regards to the less than great Halo the Master Chief Collection launch. Quote, "Going forward, you will never see a Halo game without a beta." This was true of the two Halo games that followed the MCC, both Halo 5 Guardians and Halo Wars 2, as well as each of the Halo MCC PC ports, although the latter's betas were more early access private test servers for players who opted in to play and participate, known as flights. Halo Infinite, the upcoming 6th mainline Halo game, was also supposed to be included in this cadence of pre-release beta preview, both to stress test the game's servers, as well as provide valuable feedback to the developers so that they would have the time necessary to implement any community-driven improvements and changes to what the original vision of the game is, so that the final product more closely represents a game that both the developers and the fans can enjoy. Ultimately, as we got further and further from the E3 2018 reveal of Halo Infinite, community unrest at the prospect of a beta began to set in. It wouldn't be until a follow-up blog post on Halo Waypoint on July 24th, 2020, the day after the Halo Infinite gameplay reveal, that we'd get the final blow. The post reads as follows. Quote, "When we first revealed Halo Infinite back in 2018, I spoke of our ambitions to kick off an early flighting program to bring the community along on our development journey. The Halo Insider program and public flights have been instrumental in bringing the titles in Halo the Master Chief Collection to PC, providing critical feedback and input to help shape the best experience possible. With Halo Infinite, we are also committed to building the game in partnership with our community, but given the unprecedented challenges of this year, we're not quite where we expected to be in terms of broader public flighting." This was continued in a follow-up post on Halo Waypoint a few days later as an FAQ-style post. The relevant text reads, quote, "What about a multiplayer beta/flighting? The Xbox Game Showcase was only meant to focus on Halo Infinite's campaign. However, I can't blame you all for being curious about the multiplayer experience. As Chris Lee mentioned in his blog post, which accompanied the demo last week, our original plans for large-scale flighting aren't where we originally intended, in large part due to the challenges of working from home during COVID-19. At this time, we're honestly not sure what is going to be possible in terms of flighting, but we still hope to have an opportunity for broader public hands-on before release. And, as we've previously stated, we will be relying on flighting and continued feedback and community partnership as well beyond launch as we grow and evolve the game together." All of this pointed to a Halo Infinite being both what 343 and the community wanted the most. A way for fans to calm their fears about the next Halo game that is currently slated to be the last mainline Halo game for quite some time. But this wouldn't be the last of the news to come out of 343 regarding Halo Infinite for very long. On August 11th, 2020, 343 Industries announced in a blog post written by Chris Lee, the studio head on Halo Infinite, that Halo Infinite's release would not be coming alongside the new generation of Xbox consoles. Instead, it would be delayed into 2021 with no release window given. As of the recording of this video, there has still yet to be a date, let alone a release window, for fans to expect Halo Infinite. This was likely done due to overall reception to the reveal, strenuous development conditions given the global coronavirus pandemic, and difficulty rallying morale for the teams across 343, Skybox Labs, Sparasoft, and Certain Affinity. Later, on August 26th, it was announced that Xbox Game Studios' senior creative director, Joseph Staten, the former Bungie employee who helped write and shape the Halo franchise in its Bungie days, would be joining 343 to help finish Halo Infinite as their campaign project lead. Staten will be filling in a strictly managerial role and will not be doing any creative work to redo core content in the game, instead filling in to help organize and focus the teams as they prepare their final push to get Halo Infinite's campaign into the best shape it possibly can be. That same day, it was also announced that Pierre Hentze, previously the head of 343's publishing team on the MCC, would also be joining the Halo Infinite team as a project lead for their free-to-play experience. Part of this announcement was what he'd been able to accomplish and help with while working on the MCC. One of those being the MCC's flighting program for both the PC releases of each of the titles, as well as the quality of life changes made to the game with each release. This is where the real juice of the matter comes in. So now that you're all caught up on what's happening this year, the real question remains, will Halo Infinite have a beta? When Halo Infinite was first released, I think it's fair to say that the overall sentiment in the games industry as well as in the community was that it was likely that the game would release sometime in spring of 2021. If they really had just realized that the game needed to be delayed in July or August, they would have felt confident enough before that time to release in November alongside the Series X and S. When they made the announcement, I felt confident that spring 2021 was what was the most likely option. Then, like I said before, they brought in new leadership in Staten and Hitsy. This is what gave me pause in my original thinking for a spring release and makes me think that the game is infinitely, not to use a pun, more likely to be another full year or more out. Given the need for leadership, I think it's fair to say that more than just the lighting and art needed another passover, and it's likely that Halo Infinite really does need that extra time to bake in the oven. Given all of this, had the spring release been more likely, I don't think a beta would have been possible. Obviously, the focus of the team right now is to get the game out, and dedicating resources to building and for a short time maintaining a beta for the game isn't in the best interest of the team nor their production pipeline. I think with the likelihood of a fall 2021 release, that a beta happening in the summer or even an ongoing flighting program is definitely in the cards. Unfortunately, we'll just kind of have to wait and see if that is truly the case. But yes, I do think that we'll see a beta if the game isn't releasing until the fall of next year. Probably the most fun thing to do at this point though is to look at what that could be. Would it be the right move for 343 to only keep it to the flighting program, where if you want to participate, you have to sign up to be a Halo Insider? Personally, I think the right move would be to keep it so that in a more traditional sense, the beta would be completely open to everyone, especially given the Halo Infinite multiplayer's free-to-play model. What about what the beta includes? Obviously, we wouldn't see any in-progress version of whatever the Season Pass or Battle Pass program will be, but rather the modes themselves. Obviously, Slayer would make an appearance, CTF is also all but guaranteed, but what about some of the modes that Halo 5 launched without? I'd love to see their new BTB mode shown off, and I don't think they'd win much with the community to have a beta that didn't incorporate the aspects of the game that Halo 5 was missing. Of course, the new modes they've built specifically for Infinite would also need to be on display, but what about the successor to Warzone, if there even is one? Would we get to see that, and what does that even look like now? The last thing I want to bring up is a little off topic, but 343's propensity to keep everything so close to the vest is going to hurt the game in the long run. This might be something I expand on in a future video, but 343's knack of not telling us things about the game is starting to sting a little bit, and here's why. There's already merchandise available for this game, and we don't know what half of it is. Right now, you can walk into any Target or Walmart or Halloween store and find Halo Infinite inspired costumes and props. You walk down an entirely different section of those same stores and find figures and Mega Block sets of the same things in them. These toys and props are extremely cool, and I'm all about more and more Halo merch to blow my money on, but I think it's time that 343 lets up and gives us the details. I'm not even asking for a beta at this point, and I know that Vidocs are basically out of the question with everyone busy working from home, but it seems that countless other developers are finding a great way to communicate with their communities and give them something to look forward to and be excited about. We haven't seen anything outside of the gameplay reveal except for some really solid new music tracks from 3 fantastic composers, a blog post about a new enemy, and the Mjolnir Mark 7. One of these toys is a jackal holding something called the Stalker Rifle. That's so cool, but what is it? I'm not asking for gameplay of it in action, but what I'd love is for 343 to show us something, anything. Make a blog post with all these new weapons, including the Halloween costume prop gun that's on screen now, that we literally have no idea what it is or what it does. Tell us what it's called, what the lore behind it is, and show us some concept art and maybe an in-engine render of it. That's it. I think this would win 343 a ton of goodwill from the community. Show us some of the multiplayer. Not a ton, just like a little teaser trailer. Please, 343, I think you'd be doing yourselves a huge favor if you were just a little bit more transparent. Okay, rant over. All in all, I think that the Halo Infinite beta is very likely given the delay. Should the game release in fall of 2021, which in and of itself is super fun to think about it releasing alongside the 20th anniversary of Halo CE, I think that Halo Infinite having a summer beta would be a great way to win more of that community goodwill I just mentioned. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Obviously, we want a beta, but if we get one, what do you think it'll happen? When do you think the game will release? Thank you so much for watching the video. Your support means a ton. Don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe for more videos like this. Leaving a like really does help out a lot, and I promise I am coming back to do this much more regularly. I know I've been hit or miss for a few months now, but I promise I'm coming back. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Pfhorbear to continue the conversation, and you can find me streaming at least 3 days a week at twitch.tv/Pfhorbear. Let me know what you'd like to see me do in the future, and until next time, be safe and have fun.